Wisconsin drivers are the worst, apparently. So, let me just set the scene here, alright? So, the other day, me and my brother and my dad and my nan, we go, we get in the car and we go off to the Milwaukee Zoo, alright? So, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I live in Illinois, alright? So, we're driving over there. I'm driving there on the way there. And as soon as we cross the state line, twice I got cut off almost immediately. And I'm not talking about, cut off where the person goes out into the road a little early and you have to slow down because they're going slower. I mean, they're coming in with like 2 feet of my car these times, just right out in front of you. So, and this was like right as soon as I went over the border, like right after I got out of whatever town it was. So, and there was a sign there, I think it said like Wisconsin welcomes you to the afterlife. Because that's where you're going, all right? That's where you're going if you're not careful, because Mad Max is coming at you when you're going to Wisconsin, all right? So anyway, so basically on the way there, we're still going to Milwaukee, right? Um Again, more often it keeps happening. I keep getting cut off by these people, all right? They're I didn't even keep track of how many times it happened, but if you're not getting cut off by people on the way there, you were getting stuck behind some really slow old granny or something, all right? And you know what? I'll take the slow drivers, all right? Like, I can handle the slow drivers because eventually you can pass them, hopefully, but it's either the slow drivers or like these other jokers flying down the road, all right? But so eventually we get into Milwaukee, and you know what? The city of Milwaukee looks nice, all right? It's got nice architecture. The buildings are nice and unique looking. Got a nice city culture going on, all that. And so anyway, we get into the city, and it gets even worse, all right? The people, they're still cutting you off the whole time, all right? Every time you come to a crossroad or something like that, you got to make sure to be careful, because if you're not careful at a crossroad in Wisconsin, apparently someone's going to come flying by and they're going to just shred you to pieces, all right? It's like trying to drive in GTA or some shit over there, you know? Um, so we get into the city, and people like that are parked on the side of the road are just pulling out without looking. Like they've got no peripheral vision. All right, they got like those blinder things on that horses wear. All right, they're like living in the back rooms. All right, there's nobody else out there. They're the only ones in this liminal space city, so they can just rip out of the parking lot and go flying down the road if they want to. All right, and bikes did it too. So there's bicyclists in the city, and they would just haphazardly go wherever the fuck they wanted to go, apparently. Like, granted, I know bikers can sometimes be asshats if they're, going off onto the road and all this shit, or going onto the sidewalk and mowing people down or whatever. But, like, there was this one guy who crossed diagonally over the road in front of the moving car, by the way. Moving car, may I point out. And then he got irritated. That guy. And he wasn't on a crosswalk, alright? This wasn't one of those pedestrians have the right of way things. Like, he went diagonally across this intersection, alright? And it keeps happening, alright? And the zoo was fine and all. We got through that, go back into the city, and we had to go from the zoo, and somebody wanted to see this like lighthouse that was there, and it's about a 5 minute drive. And 4 times on that 5 minute drive, we got cut off. Almost one person a minute, all right? But I'm convinced that if we had gotten a fifth person to cut us off, one person per every minute, would have got some kind of achievement, like an Xbox achievement at the top of there. It'd be like, you survived driving in Milwaukee, alright? Now you get to go up to Michigan and try Detroit next. You've unlocked that city. But on the way to the lighthouse, though, there was like this group of bicyclists that came out from another street. And this was way ahead, so this was, I don't know, like 30 or 40 yards ahead. So, and I'm looking out there and I see this group of bicyclists, and these people, they were either wearing very small Speedos or they were just butt ass naked. Alright? I don't know what was going on. There was something called Summerfest going on. I don't know if these people were a part of that or not, but they're just, a whole crowd of them just turned and starts going. And at the very end, there's someone with a pride flag. I don't know if that was like a pride thing they were doing or if they just had it because it's Pride Month or whatever. To each their own. I guess that's not the point. I just felt like mentioning that because, how often does that happen? All right, I guess if you're living in Milwaukee, it happens pretty frequently. I don't know. It happened that day. So, anyway, as we're leaving, all right, we get to the lighthouse. It's like this squatty red and black thing. It didn't look very impressive, but we get out and we're driving under this bridge, which has like these two yellow arches on it. So it's basically a McDonald's bridge, I guess, which I don't know the history of the bridge, but I mean, it's a McDonald's bridge. You're going to put two arches next to each other on a bridge and think it's not going to be McDonald's, all right? Yellow arches. Anyway, so we're leaving, and there's this like Summerfest something or other going on. I don't know what that was, but parking, there were like private parking lots, $50 if you wanted to park there, all right? Not the entrance fee, okay? That was just the parking. Why? Why would anybody pay $50 to park there? At that point, you just park in some parking garage way off in the boondocks, and then you just walk your sorry ass all the way through the city and hope you don't get run down by one of those bicyclists, I guess. So, on the way out of this city, all right, it's like, again, still the whole time, you get cut off by people. It's like some Mad Max type shit, all right? Like, okay, I half expect, I half expect as we're leaving the city, we're gonna have those guys from the movie, the ones in the like cars with covered in all the spikes and stuff, come like flying out of apartment buildings, throwing grenades with spears attached to them and shit like that. Like, I half expected some of these people to start jumping out of their cars and onto the roof of our car. Like, absolute anarchy, alright? It might be a bit of an over exaggeration, I don't think that many people died in this process of trying to escape the city, alright? And again, it looks like the city looks nice, alright? It seems like it'd be a good place to go to. Like, it's got nice architecture. It looks different. All right, it's kind of like Chicago's hipster cousin, I guess. But the drivers in this city, all right, they're bad, second only to Washington D.C. All right, because we've been to D.C. before, and it's like it's anarchy there. All right, if Milwaukee is Mad Max, then like DC is like the Battle of Coruscant from Star Wars, all right? That, but not the point, all right? Maybe I'll make a thing talking about DC, or that was absolute chaos over there. But anyway, and keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who has driven into Chicago many a time during rush hours, all right? During festivals, all right? One time I had to drive there during a soccer game and they closed all the lanes on a highway except for one, so you sat there for like 2 fucking hours. But I don't remember where I was going with that one. But yeah, Wisconsin drivers though, alright. Maybe I'm not aware of the local culture there, alright. Maybe in the culture you have to assert your dominance by dominating the road, alright. As soon as like you're driving down the road as a Wisconsin resident and you see somebody else over there coming to the crossroad and suddenly it's like, wrong hand. Suddenly you're like, that's it. we're going ape shit, all right? We gotta assert our dominance, all right? We gotta come in there. We gotta be the first ones across that intersection. We gotta be the first ones on that road, okay? This sucker, this loser, not today, not today. I don't think that was a coherent sentence at all. I don't know what I was talking about there, but anyway. So basically, the moral of the story here, okay? If you're ever gonna go driving in Wisconsin, all right, put a helmet on, get some people to back you up, put the armoring on your car, all right, and get ready for war, because my God, okay, my God, maybe just for precaution, you take one of those like spinning blade things on the front of a combine and put it on the front of your car, okay, just in case, all right, just in case. Might be a deterrent for those bicyclists, but yeah, so the rivalry, the dislike between Illinois people and Wisconsin people, it all makes sense now. I understand it now. All right, so yeah, the moral of the story is that Wisconsin though. So yeah, I don't know what's going on up there, but yeah. So yeah. Yeah.